Okay, I think we're live. Let us see. YouTube is good. Wait for some people to trickle in here. Let me check the Facebook. Sarah should be here momentarily. All right, I think we're live on Facebook. Usually I do this in the middle of the session, but should do it right away. It's probably better. Share to group.
Wait, I like your background. Is that for like acoustic purposes?
Oh, behind me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the Funko toys and a lot of shoes. Thanks. Yeah, I have a little corner in my house for just this. my family gives me a little corner. So, all right, I guess we can get started. So we got 3 people already watching. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone that's tuning in for this blue session, blue live. I have my blue shirt on. Manny's here. Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. Emanuele Faja. Did I say it right? Or Faja?
Yeah, Faja. Yeah, that's
Faja. Faja. I was gonna go Faja with the Croatian. The J's turn into Y's, but Faja or Manny, right? We just call you Manny.
Yeah, everybody calls me Manny. That's right.
Manny. I call you Manny, but I'm keeping it professional because you. Hey, that's Francois. He's from.
Oh France. Wow, that's a long-term customer right there.
He's been, he's a great guy. He mentioned that he's been using Blue, formerly Blue, BLOO, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then we realized that we were competing against like a toilet cleaning product, and that wasn't a good vibe. So we changed it.
Oh, that's the reason. I was going to ask you why, how come you changed it? Because I like the old name, but I guess that's a popular toilet cleaning product. Yeah, Francois, you're first today. You're on here first. So, so Manny, first of all, for people that don't know, where you're from, where are you located?
Yeah,
if you could share that, unless it's private information.
No. So I was born in Italy. I'm half Italian, half British, and I've basically been living all over the place for many years. So I've sort of lived in the UK, then I lived in Asia for 10 years. The last 3 years I've sort of been traveling around the world. Right now I'm in Panama, and then I'll be heading back to Italy around October, sort of settle down finally after 3 years on the road.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, so that's kind of me in a nutshell.
That's where your primary home is, I guess, in Italy.
Yeah, exactly. Like going back to them, and I haven't lived there full time for about 15 years, so it'll be interesting to acclimatize myself again to Europe.
Do you miss it? You miss Italy?
I miss the food. I'll be honest. Yeah. It's something special there. Yeah.
I miss the food when I go to Croatia, but my doctor does not, because my cholesterol goes through the roof from all that food, all the eating. Gain a little weight while we're in Europe, but nothing beats European food.
Exactly.
So what's the origin story for Blue? Like, why did you create a project management system tool like this, which is great, by the way? How did it all start? When did it start?
Yeah, that's a great question, because also a lot of people say that I'm sort of a bit crazy to have done it, because it's such a crowded space with a huge amount of very, very well-funded companies, and we're a sort of bootstrapped company, right? We didn't take any venture capital. And the reason was I have a previous company before called Mad. It was quite a successful agency, so doing product design mostly for sort of large companies and funded startups. So we designed mobile apps, websites, brands, that kind of stuff. And really, I struggled in the first few years. We grew very quickly. We were 30, 35 people in 6 months. And I just struggled to stay organized, right? Like in terms of managing my projects and, ensuring that our clients had success. And so we went, we started out with Basecamp. And that was good. Actually, I kind of like Basecamp. But then we kind of quickly outgrew it, right? There was too many people, too many to-dos. There wasn't the flexibility to track processes there. So then, let's upgrade And so we went to Asana, right? And that was pretty good too. The only problem was that it was a price, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it
Yeah,
goes
it's
to
expensive.
$24 if you pay a year, $30.49 if you pay monthly. You know, with a team of 35 plus some contractors plus potentially clients that need access to pay, and you have to pay for them too. You know, you're looking at thousand five a month for a team, and that was quite expensive for me at the time. And so that was one problem. The second problem was that I had to keep onboarding my team and my clients onto the software because they didn't really want to use it. It was a bit too complex. You know, I was in Asia at the time, and I really felt that it was designed for American knowledge workers, not
Yeah.
for the other billions of people that live everywhere else, right? So it wasn't intuitive. So I had this idea. Okay, look, I'm gonna hire an engineer specifically for this, and then we'll build out. And so, you know, we took about 3 months. We built the first version, and you know what? It was terrible. Honestly, the
It was
first
really
version,
bad, yeah.
it was really bad.
It was a mess.
Yeah,
You needed a project management system tool for the project management system tool.
exactly. But the advantage we had is that I had the engineer and me working, and we had this, you know, 30 odd people that were sort of forced to use it, right? In the same office. And of course, we were getting feedback and complaints in real time, right? Because we were sitting next to them.
Yeah.
And so this built like a cycle, virtuous cycle, where we could get a lot of product ideas and feedback very quickly. And then we made it good enough that we could actually shift all our projects away from Asana. So that was the initial motivation. But then about a year in, some of our clients started going, hey, this system that we're using to manage the projects is pretty good. Can we use it for our business? And the answer was like, not yet, but let me get back to you. And then
Yeah.
we registered a company, we hooked up on Stripe, and then we launched and we started billing people. So
Wow.
that's kind of how we got started,
It
right?
just happened like that. That's actually a lot of tools. I believe like Surfer SEO is one where they built a tool for in-house use, and then it was doing so well that they created the platform. They put it out there. Oh, I think Sarah's here.
Hi.
Hi, Sarah.
Hey,
There she is. There's Sarah
We had
Parker.
some technical issues, but
Oh, no problem. Manny's just going over kind of where Blue started, how the origin story, so,
beautiful.
um, but let's see, let's hide this. Yeah, Manny, with the tool, I noticed with project management systems that it's hard to find a way that it works for everybody. When you're working with that group and you're starting it out, you're going to get a lot of comments, I guess. Oh, I like this, I don't like that. How did you decide which ones were priority, which ones weren't? Did you just kind of release it and now you're continuing to get feedback as have scaled it, Blue? How do you
Yeah, because
pick?
this is ambitious doing a
yeah.
very
Yeah,
ambitious.
So yeah, that's a great question. I mean, and really the way I see it is that my role is not only CEO, but I'm essentially the product manager for the product, right? I don't have anybody else as a product management role, right? Um, and this is what I did at my agency before, right? Also building products. So the idea is, okay, you get customer feedback, and do you accept that at face value? How do you evaluate that, right? So I think the first thing is that I look at volume, right? So how many inbound requests for a particular feature am I getting, right? So that's one thing I need to look at. The other thing is my own vision for the product, right? So what do I want to see it going forwards, right? And we can talk a little bit about the rebrand we've made and also projects, these processes, because that's also something that we've sort of changed over the years. And then finally, you also keep an eye on the market, right? So we look at what are other companies doing, right? What's working for them? What are people saying on forums, online, right, and so on. So taking these different signals, I can then choose, okay, out of the 400 things that we could do in the next quarter, how do I pick the three most impactful ones, right? And by impact, I mean the ones that are going to help us retain customers,
yeah.
right?
Stay
We don't want
unique
to,
also compared to
yeah,
the other
exactly.
platforms. Be
What will
unique.
give us a unique competitive
Yeah,
advantage,
yeah,
and also what's also something that we can use to attract new customers in, right? So for instance, one of my priorities from now until the end of the year is to launch a full white label product, right? We already enable custom domains, but I want to have the ability for a customer to completely white label Blue. So there's no mentions of Blue, there's no emails being sent from Blue, nothing. It just looks like they've built their own awesome system, right? And the reason I want to do that is because pretty much none of the other big project management platforms are actually doing that, right?
Mm-mm.
And so that's
No, none
that's
of
a
them.
point that's very, very unique, right? And so that's kind of helps us to differentiate ourselves. So that's how I see the product management of a system, right? Essentially, in terms of getting inbound requests for features and then being able to prioritize them.
Well, I love Blue. I'm glad you guys are coming back to AppSumo, because that's how I think it's coming back tomorrow, right? Plus Day.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's right.
I'm
So it's
happy that I got a second look at it, because the way you could customize it, I haven't seen on a lot of other project management systems. I really like that you can add these certain fields to make it kind of my own project management system. It kind of identifies with the user more, where some of the project management systems are very general, and this is it, and this is what you have to work with. And I don't like a lot of the other ones.
Yeah, so and really that's the shift that we've been making. We started out as a pure play project management system, right? And we still sort of call ourselves that, but I see much more use as a process management system, right? So people using it for hiring, for sales, for onboarding and so on, right? So they're not really managing projects that have got a definite start and end date, but they're managing ongoing processes that will be running for years,
I was
right?
going to ask you about that. So you really get it. That's good.
Yeah, and so what we've done there in terms of customization, for instance, we used to have everything used to be called to do, right? Before the rebrand from Blue to BLUE now, right? Blue.
Hmm.
Now we've recalled that records, right? Because essentially it's one system of truth, right? So you've got these records, but then customers on each project or each process, they can rename that to whatever they want. It could be, if they're tracking deals, they can rename that to opportunities or sales and so on. If they're tracking onboarding process or hiring process, they can rename that to be employees. And the same thing with all the custom fields, right? The future vision of this is that we will enable all the features to be fully renamed, right? And then also the ability to add new tabs with either different views or variations of the features. So you can have one tab that's your Kanban board, add another tab which is a filtered view on a database of the same data, right? So you can switch between the two, that kind of stuff. So really basically making it your own tool, because our strategy is horizontal. We're not focusing on a particular vertical. And so it really does need to be customizable so people can use it how it best works for them, right? Instead of us guessing what works for people, right?
And how can you support beginners? Because like as someone who like I love tools like this. I
Mhm.
absolutely love
He
them.
does.
And I've been using them for years, but the learning curve when I first started, I mean, it's ridiculous. Will you guys have some kind of like templates to help people get started? Support,
Sarah,
like
I
how do you
can
how are you
use
going to
it.
support them?
I could use it. You could use it. I'm a dummy, so I could use it. I didn't break it. It's so
Good.
easy.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, that's a great question. So we've got a few strategies for onboarding, right? So obviously,
Mhm.
when you sign up, we kind of do a tour, an automatic tour of the system, right? We also send you a series of emails, kind of teaching you bit by bit about the system in a logical fashion, right? So this is how you set up a
Mhm.
project, this is how you think through the processes, and so on. Then we've got ridiculously in-depth documentation that we kind of completely revamped last year. Now and you can search on it. You can also ask questions using AI, which is quite interesting. And it will search through the documentation and pluck out the answer for you.
Mhm.
A few kind of additional improvements we want to make, that we'll release later this year, is that we're actually going to have sample projects as well. So we already have templates which you can get up and running quickly, but you can also will allow you to check out sample projects. And essentially, this will be like, okay, you can see how you could use Blue to open a coffee shop or to run a construction project or to run sales. And
Right.
it will be populated full of sort of dummy data,
Mhm.
with you can see people discussing and so on. So you'll be able to get a real vibe of, okay, this is how Blue can look like. That's the end state, right? So you get that aha moment. I think that's quite important. And also the other thing, we mentioned this before you joined. One of the pain points before, my other company was using Asana before, and then that's why we built Blue, was that we
Yeah.
found it difficult to use because I think it was too centric on sort of developed countries knowledge workers and that side of things, right? All the language, all the terminology, especially those that they're really
Corporate
coming up
speak.
Silicon Valley, right?
Yeah.
Um, we started when I started Blue, I was living in Cambodia, right? My
Hmm.
first customers were in Cambodia, right? It is what it is. The level of education there and the digital literacy is not what it is in Europe or the US, right? And so those
Right.
first customers, we were onboarding. We had to make it really easy to use, right? So actually,
Hmm.
they can use a platform. And I
And
think
Asana is not easy to use.
that
I'm not a
genesis,
fan of Asana.
I do not.
those
Sorry, Asana. We use it at our agency.
Sorry,
I do not like it.
not my
so
jam.
so yeah, basically those first 10, 20, 30 customers that were there locally in Cambodia really helped us to focus on keeping it simple, right? So then
Hmm.
so yeah, and then it turned out that people in who were more digital, had a high level of digital literacy, actually found it refreshingly simple, right? So essentially,
Yes.
that's one of the kind of, and that's one of the key value propositions of Blue. Really, is that
Hmm.
it's easy to use. You can get going really quickly.
That's beautiful. And I think sometimes people, they see project management tool, and I like the word that you used, the phrase you used, process management tool, because that's what I'm trying to get out of these tools when I use them. Because I have two businesses. I'm not trying to manage individual projects. I don't work in my company. One of them I do. So what I need is it needs to serve every level. It needs to serve the people, servicing the projects. It needs to service managers. It needs to service C-suite. It needs to service solopreneurs. So having the process management part of it, I was just so happy to hear that. And people don't understand that that's what they need. They don't need a CRM. They don't need a project management tool because those are very siloed, specific things. They need something like this that can just morph to whatever they need.
Yeah, and the problem there is that if you do go with vertical solutions for everything you need, suddenly
Hmm.
you've got 10 systems that you
Oh,
need to
tech
manage,
bloat makes
10
you want to cry.
subscription.
You're
You
like,
then
why
got
do
to
we
try
have this
and
many?
integrate them. Then you got to pull all the data, drop it into Power
Yeah,
BI to get a dashboard, and it's a headache, right? Nobody wants that, especially if you're a small business.
yeah,
10 to 50 people. Like
yep.
ideally, you want to just have one place where you can see it all, and it can
The
and it can
data
all.
governance nightmare where everybody's like, hey, did that information get updated in the fifth app that we use? No, but we need it in the 25th app. So let's manually, it's just too much. It's too
One
much.
of the really nice custom fields that we have, which I don't think a lot of other systems have, is that we have a custom field that we call time duration, where
Hmm.
essentially you can decide on a particular time, a particular event that will start a timer, and a
Hmm.
particular end event that will end the time. So, for instance, you can say, okay, when
Ooh.
a record moves into the in process column, start the
Hmm.
timer, and when it gets completed, you can close the timer, and it will then give you your basically your cycle time, right? How long did it take to go through the process, right? And then you can
That's
obviously
so
pull
cool.
that up to the dashboard level and get your average time to completion, right, for things. So you can see how long were things waiting, how long were things actually in progress, and so on, right? So yeah,
That is pretty cool. Can you use that feature to trigger kind of like not necessarily recurring reminders, but some businesses need like, okay, so when we do this thing, we need to follow up in exactly 10 business days because that's the regulation of our business. Is there certain things that you can trigger like
yeah,
that that are
absolutely.
recurring?
So exactly, yeah. So these are typically we call them service level agreements, right? Like either internally
Mm-hmm.
with customers, we say okay, 10, and you can set basically you can do that through the automation engines. You can say when something moves into in progress,
Mm-hmm.
you've got 10 days, so you can set a due date automatically for 10 days, but then you can set another automation to say, okay, when the due date in this list has expired, so we've gone over the due date,
Mm-hmm.
then trigger another automation, right? Which can be a custom email to yourself, a reminder, it can assign a manager, and so on, right? So whatever you need to do to basically, you can even turn the card red, right? And so on.
Yeah,
So anything you
that's
need to do,
beautiful.
exactly. Yeah.
That's so cool.
So why I'm happy that you did, but how come you're coming back to AppSumo?
Yeah, great question. So, we and this overall actually, I've been doing a lot of thinking in terms of strategy as well. But they, long story short, they essentially reached out, and it was an interesting opportunity. I think also when we were first there, we were, I think, a baby product. I would say. I think we were 14 months in, so we
Yeah.
didn't have like 80% of what we have now. So it was, they made an interesting case to actually go in, and I think I think it definitely I've seen also the sort of pre-hype before coming to AppSumo this last couple of weeks. So I think it's going to be a very good launch. But I think long term, our mission in general is to make project management simple, flexible, powerful, and the fourth one is affordable, right?
Mm.
That's part of our mission, right? And I kind of feel that the whole industry is broken right now.
Yeah.
So the way it is, you've got these companies, let's say, Monday.com, ClickUp, Asana. I mean, most of them, Notion.com, Notion as well, they've raised, I think on average, like 500 million each, right?
Mhm.
And then they're also losing tons of money every year, right? I mean, to put it into perspective, I think Asana lost like 100 million in
Wow.
2023, and they
Ugh,
spent 450 million on marketing, right?
fun.
So what's happening is that they're essentially flooding the market. They're raising the cost of customer acquisition. So
Mhm.
unless you play by the same game, right, where you are also paying, thousands of dollars to acquire one customer upfront with the hope that
Mhm.
they stay on for a long time, you basically can't compete, right? But it also raises the price for everybody. So for the end customers, you're now forced to pay to get a full system. You've got to pay $20-$30 per user, which is actually really expensive when you
Yeah.
Mhm.
scale that.
It's
I
crazy.
know some industries they pay $250 per user for certain types of, yeah,
So
a lot.
I started to ask myself, okay, what are the advantages that Blue has compared to these companies, right? Because
Mm.
we've got a comparison system on our website, right? For a lot of them, we're equivalent in many aspects, right? There's things that they do slightly better. There's things that we do
Yeah.
better. But I'm saying, like, a lot of
Those
companies
are
have
just
made
features, not user experience.
exactly.
Yeah.
So exactly. So, and I think I'm asking myself, okay, what's the advantage that we have compared to these? And one of the key
Mm.
ones is I don't have a board full of venture capitalists who need to tell
Yeah.
me what to do and all that kind of stuff. A
You can actually make a product that works.
Yeah.
exactly. Right? The only thing that
I'll
I'm
say
focused on,
it.
yeah, the only thing I'm focused on is my customers, right? I'm not focused on
Yeah.
investors. But two is also I've got a much lower cost base, right?
Mhm.
We have a small, very focused team, right? We're not trying to do everything under the sun. And so with that, I'm wondering if there's actually, I'll say this out loud. I still haven't decided, but I may consider in the future moving the whole business over to a lifetime deal model, and then having just a few modules where you can subscribe to if you want extra features. So, for
Head
instance, it
on.
could be
Yeah.
a space upgrade, it could be the full
Mhm.
white label, this kind of stuff, right? And then really
Yeah.
make project management accessible to the 50 million small businesses that right now are not using project management systems, right?
Right.
So that's kind of the idea there as well.
And
But
do you
yeah,
have
so
plans for some kind of like so like my agency, like we do some light development in that we're not creating apps, but we will create templates for apps. Do you have any kind of support planned for that? Because, we have clients that come to us for process optimization and we don't force them into one platform. We find the one that's right for them. So do you have some kind of something planned for that or
yeah, so definitely one thing I want to do in the future is essentially the idea of a template marketplace, right?
Hmm.
So where creators or consultants can create their own templates. People can preview them, but if they don't want to sort of try and reverse engineer and do all the work to create a template, they can just buy it directly
Mhm.
and then add it to their account, right? And then use it again and again. And then we'll
Absolutely.
we'll basically handle the payment and then route that to the partner who created the template in the first place. And I think that definitely helps in terms of consultants who then can
Mhm.
onboard additional users to Blue, who can then sell them kind of added value services and templates and so on. So yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be beautiful.
One thing I notice in a lot of the social media groups, people discussing project management system tools, process management system tools, if you ask 50 people which one they like the best, they all have a different answer. So
And
I
they're
think
passionate about it
they're
too.
passionate, yeah, and then if another one comes along, that's like, "Wow, this one." So I
Mhm.
I think everybody's, has a personal preference for what works best for them. That's why I always say with any tool, it's what works
Mhm.
best for the user. Just because someone likes Monday or Asana, I know people that love Asana, and I don't get it. I'm like, "This is not for me." I'll use it, but it's not comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I've always used Flowloo as one of my main ones, and I still love it. But like I said, it's a beast. It's very it's just a big tool. There's a lot there. Where Blue, it just seems very easy for me. It's just like, I can use this. Like I said, Sarah, you could handle it. It's easy. If I could do it, you could do it. I was so surprised how
Yeah.
easy it was and how flexible it was. The only
Mhm.
thing I want is, I told Manny, is I know mobile app is being worked on more, but I think that the platform. Now I know why a lot of the sumolings that were posting in like Ken Moo's group like a couple weeks ago, Blue's coming back. Blue's coming back. Oh my God. Everyone was so excited. And
I
now I
don't see
get it.
people
Why?
excited about tools like
Yeah.
this often, so that
Blue,
was kind of a big deal. Yeah.
Manny, the way that I guess you emailed, it was a great marketing, strategy. Kind of bring back, we're coming back, and
Mhm.
everyone did the work for you. Like you said, you don't need to hire the big marketing agencies and lose all that money. Where you have your users that are just being honest that they love the platform. Guess what? It's
Mhm.
coming back. Try to grab it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also, that comes to the heart of things, which is product-led growth, right? So the idea that essentially you try and build a product that is good enough that people then talk about it and tell their friends or their
Yeah.
colleagues and get them on board. I think, you know, without crapping on Asana, right? I mean, they've built
Poor
a
Asana.
system that
Asana's
gives
got
them,
Yeah.
plenty of money. They don't
but
care.
if you do, you have to ask a question. If you do have to spend $500 million a year on marketing your platform, right?
Yeah.
Like, why is that, right? Like, you
Yeah.
got to ask the question, right? Why do you need to spend so much money to get all these users, right? Why is it not organically growing at the rate that they want to grow? So yeah, I think
Mhm.
there's that, and also from a customer point of view, if you're paying fees, what are those fees going? Subscription fees. What are those fees going to, right? Are they going to actually develop the product, or are they all getting
Improving now the marketing.
spent on paying down the debts that you had before the marketing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I see that with legacy tools a lot is, perhaps they came on the scene, and this is a little bit more toward the specialty process, management tools that maybe are specific to industries. But, the, minimum cost per month is $250, but that's because they started in 2012. They're built on old architecture. They're not agile for development. All of your data is siloed. So it's nice to see this. It's really nice.
Francois, in this kind of tool engagement is essential. You spend a little time setting up things right, you can save time later in your process. I really like Blue and promote it to my clients, but even if they use it during their project with me, none of them bought it for their own use.
I could
Yeah,
tell you why. Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I think you definitely need to have
Yeah.
also the mindset of going down that process path, right? Not all businesses are there yet, right? There's that aspect to it, right? It's
Mm.
the software is half a battle, I like to say. The other half is your own culture, your own ability to wanting to get
Yeah.
that, right?
You really have to sell the decision makers. A lot of the time, the decision makers, they don't know what their team does or goes through. And if you're talking to the team, they know that they need better systems, better architecture. But a lot of the time, and this is from my experience in in sales and things like that, they don't even know that there is a problem that needs to be solved because they can just tell another human to do it. They don't know that it's actually going to increase the bottom line, increase team morale. It's going to increase client satisfaction. They only see the dollars and cents, but they don't see the ancillary benefits
And
to it.
especially with knowledge work, right? We're not
Mm.
sitting on a production line cranking out widgets where if I'm better than you, I can make 20% more widgets, right? With knowledge work,
Mhm.
you can get an exponential increase in productivity and output, right?
Oh,
If
yeah.
you choose to do the right actions, right, and so on, right, you have the right strategy. So I think that there really is value there, right? Yeah.
Mhm. Implementation is also another, and this is why we do so well and why people come to hire us, is implementation of the systems is a huge challenge. Now with Blue, obviously you have very low bar to entry. People can just pop in, have very little tech knowledge, and that's going to be a huge USP for you
Mhm.
in solving pain points in your communication and your marketing. Um, but for most people, they simply do not have a second to spare to set something up. So I think you're going to do very well just for the fact that one, it's easy to use right out of the box as soon as you start. And two, if you've got like templates and support, that's going to be great because, I see people start to use like ClickUp. They'll just make you want, I mean, you can go like 14 layers deep in hierarchy in ClickUp. I've tested it. I think it's really deep. There shouldn't be that many, and people get overwhelmed very fast. So I'm pretty excited for this and to test it out for sure.
Yeah. And Manny, do you want to start showing us people that haven't seen it?
Yeah, there's a lot of great questions in the chat, so I think
we'll get to those too.
Go through.
Yeah, keep questions
Shall I
coming.
tackle a couple of the questions?
Yeah, I guess we'll do questions towards the end.
Yeah.
And also, Manny is nice enough. He's going to do give away some codes. We might give away some during the session and the rest after. So keep the questions coming.
Yeah,
and Blue is coming
you,
tomorrow. Sorry, on AppSumo. It's plus.
Yes, so it's for plus users. So you need to have that sort of plus subscription to AppSumo, and then on the 17th, then it's released to everybody.
Great.
Yeah. I was going to say for anyone that's watching this that is, a consultant or in the space where you actually help people get set up on platforms like this, the sales piece is going to change your life. So if you, after this live, if you guys have questions, ping me and I will tell you how to sell Blue to your clients and how to help them understand the value because they just don't get it. They won't know unless you communicate to them in their language. I'm excited about this.
Cool. Let me share my screen. Cool. Let me know if you can see that.
Let's see. Oh, let's see. Show on screen. Oh, let's see. Let's move this around so we can fix it. There we go. That looks better.
Yay!
Cool. Awesome. You can see, right?
Yep. Can everybody see?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right. So I'm just in a sort of dummy project here, but I'm going to kind of talk you through some of the features and how it works. So first of all, we've got this kind of records tab, and this is really where most of the work happens. This is where you can add your items, your records, create your kind of processes and so on, right? So in this case, I've got a general sort of project management process, which kind of goes from ideas, backlog in progress, all the way to done, right? These lists are kind of flexible, so you can obviously rename them, you can even lock them, you can do bulk actions on them, and also you can create new ones as well as kind of drag and drop to change the order, right? And this is kind of one way of viewing your data, right? And you've got all these filters up here. So for instance, I can say, okay, I want to just take a look at the high priority items. I can click and I will instantly filter down to those. Then you can also layer on filters as well. So I can filter on multiple items, filter by assignee, and also with any of the custom fields in the projects, I can also filter by those. So I can say, for instance, person in charge, I can do a condition, and then I can add a value, and I can also stack these as well. Essentially what this gives you is a very, very, if you've got thousands of records, you can easily filter down to exactly.
I saw you just clicked on something and it automatically filtered.
Uh-oh. AI Sarah's back. I think the microphone.
Can you hear me now? It might be, I'm out in the country, so that might be. Can you hear me okay now?
It sounds, can you hear it, Manny?
Yeah, it sounds a bit robotic, yeah.
Oh gosh! All right.
We always say Sarah is when she responds to people, she's AI because she can type so well and so quickly that everyone's accusing her of being artificial intelligence. You're a robot. We knew it. Skynet.
All right. Is this better or is it still a bit spotty?
Still a little, yeah.
We'll wait a moment. We'll see if my connection gets a bit better.
Okay. You keep going, man. Sorry.
No worries. Okay, so this is kind of the board, and then you can kind of click in also to see an individual record. And this is also, we basically have kind of the discussions on the right, so users can add comments and also see a log of everything that has been changed. And then on the left, you've got essentially your custom fields, your metadata of the particular record, right? So in this case, we've got a few fields here, but also the great thing is that with these fields is that you can delete any fields that you want, including the default fields. So for instance, if you don't need assignees or tags for this project, you can actually go ahead and delete those. And you can also rearrange this left side completely, right? So you can move any of the items and then they will update too. And then you can also add a whole bunch of different fields. We've got like a couple of dozen options, some advanced ones as well, where you can pluck data from other projects and so on. And I saw a couple of questions of those in the chat, so I'll go into that.
The
A
dark
bit
mode.
later.
Did you see the dark mode comments by any chance?
Yeah,
A couple
of
people say,
course,
"Can
we
you show?"
support dark mode.
There it is.
And we also support what I like to call ninja mode, where you can set your color to be, you can go to dark mode and set the interface color to black. And then you get like super dark
Oh,
mode.
I haven't done this yet. I'm
But
definitely going to switch to that.
yeah, exactly. So there's kind of that. So yeah, so this is kind of a few things here. Obviously, you can kind of right click on any item to do a whole bunch of actions. You can kind of set colors on a card. You can also select obviously multiple cards and take bulk actions, right? We've also got the great ability to tag with artificial intelligence. So this is an AI that's got context on your project. You can click on it, and then it will, from your available tags, it will automatically tag the ones that you've selected. And this also works across the entire project. So you can actually click here, and it would tag the whole thing, right? And this is just one view, right? We have kind of 6 different views as well. So another one is calendar. So this essentially takes all your due dates and puts them on a calendar, and you can easily sync them to Google Calendar, Outlook, Apple Calendar, just by copying and pasting this link and dropping it into your calendar app. We have a sort of Gantt chart slash timeline, so you can see what things are coming up in a visual manner. And then we also have a database view, which is kind of an Excel-like view, right? And you can also obviously drag and drop to rearrange the columns. You can also decide, you can pin different columns, right? Left and right. And you can also choose which ones you want to show and which ones you don't want to show, right? And the great thing too is that you can drag columns up to the top, and then you'll get groupings. So in this case, I'm grouping by list. So I can see, okay, how many I've got under the done and so on, right? But then I can also group, I can do subgroups. So I can do groups by list and groups by tag. So I can see, okay, under done, I've got 2 fast track items, right? And I can do that. And what's great is that all the filters work across all the views, right? So I can also filter by assignee, due date, and tags right here. Then we've got a more traditional list view where you can kind of see things that need to get done and then mark them as done. And then for some use cases, not everybody will use this, obviously, we have a map view. So we can add, using custom fields, you can add geolocation data to
Oh, I
records.
will need this
Show
one.
that on the map. So it's only for specific use cases, where you've got tracking customer addresses or other things, assets, that kind of stuff, right? But it's useful for the ones that need that.
I know a ton of businesses that will love that.
Exactly. Yeah, it depends. It really depends on the use case. Then we've got this little robot face here that's got a sort of green little light on. So that means that there are automations active on this project. And I can click here, and I get a list of all the automations that are active and just written out in plain English, right? So it shows you, okay, well, when I add a tag fast track, it's going to assign Sarah, and it will change the due date to 3 days from the trigger date, right? And so you can stack up a bunch of automations here, and then while creating an automation, it's really easy. You can say, okay, when something happens, right? So I can say, okay, a record is moved to, under review. I can say, well, then, I can assign that to myself. And then I can also add more actions. I can say, okay, we'll change the due date, make it relative, so 5 days from a trigger date. I can even create a checklist. So I can, this is a great way to embed your SOPs, right? Because I can say, okay, I will embed a checklist. So I've got like these 5 things that I always want to do when something is moved under review.
And I do see your natural language snuck in there instead of trigger. And action, you have when this happens, then this
Exactly. Yeah.
happens. Thank you.
Pretty easy.
Plain English.
And then this is probably my most favorite automation, which is super powerful,
Mhm.
which is the ability to trigger a custom email. So you can say send
Ah,
email,
thank you.
edit the email template, then you can choose who to email, and if you've got an email field, that will come up here as well. You can email the record assignee or anyone in the project. In this case, I'll email
Mhm.
myself. I can do a custom reply to, and then I can even type a custom email here as well. And then everything is dynamic, so I can pull needs your attention, right? And then I can say, hey, and then I can pull maybe the record assignee name, just a heads up that, and then I can actually, again, any that is tagged, and I can pull any of the information here and make a dynamic custom email, right? And with the white label, these emails will be able to come from your own email address, not our email address. So yeah, so
Very
this is an
important.
example. So I can kind of create that, and this is really really powerful, right? So you've got that, and then essentially I can take the launch planning item, I can move that under review, and you can see instantly the due date's changed, the checklist has been created, I've been assigned, right? And you can see the SOPs, the checklist has been created as well. And all of the things that happened are logged. And this is an immutable log, so it can't be changed to tell you
Thank
what
you.
changes that happened, right?
Some businesses need that by regulation, just so
Exactly.
everyone knows. This is like no one thinks of this. So, yeah.
So yeah, so that's kind of the record view here. And you can also kind of import and export everything. So either via CSV, or if you've got active filters, we'll just export the things that you want filtered. And if you're going to be importing more data, you can also download a CSV template, which will already have all the headers mapped for you. So then you can just add the things into the CSV and then import right back in as well, right? And of course, projects can be copied both in your company but also across companies. And you can even choose exactly what you want to copy in the project. So you might say, okay, I want to copy everything, but I don't want the comments, right? So then you can remove the comments as an example, right? And also you can convert, you can create your own templates, right? So then these become reusable. So anyone on your team, when they create a new project, they can choose one of your existing templates, right? So that's kind of an overview of the records. We have a more broad sort of activity here. So these are for main things in the project that have happened. This is also immutable. So it gives you a
Mm.
kind of highlight of everything that's happened here. And then you can also filter by person, by tag, and also by due date. So this acts a bit like a time machine because you can go back and say, okay, what happened in August last year in this project? And then you'll get an activity feed of that particularly. We've also
Amazing.
got a project wiki. So this is essentially you can use it to store your kind of main documentation. The nice thing here is that as you type your headings, this will automatically create a table of contents on the left, which then when you click, it will scroll you down to the right part, right? Then sometimes you want to have discussions that are not specific to an item, but are more general to a project. So from here, you can create chats, right? So these are, basically are on-topic chats, right? So you can create a topic and then you can use that to discuss specifically for that. And we support, all the kind of rich media, GIFs, emojis, and so on, videos here too. Then we've got kind of a documents, which is very much like a wiki, but it will give you a list of documents. All your files are going to be stored here. You can upload them directly here, or any files that you upload in comments or file custom fields will also show up here. And you can also create folders, and these can be color coded as well. So you can change the color nice and easily. You can drag and drop to upload folders. The other kind of cool thing, and I'm going to switch over to a real project to kind of show you this. So let me jump over to, this is actually the project that we use to build Blue. So you can see here, I've got a bunch of files, right? What's great is that you can right click on any file and you can share it. So you can create a shareable link that you can send to people who are outside of Blue, right? So if you've got creative or you've got other documents that you want to send to clients, you can upload them here, copy the link, share it, and then send it across as well. So that's
And
really
I have a quick question. Is there a way to see, like, high level what you've shared with people, like on a data governance level? Like, what if, like, I have one of our team members share something, but we don't realize that it's still a live link? Is there a way to see what's live and public, or?
yeah, great question. So yes, so basically on here, in fact, let me go back to the. Yeah, I want to show you that. So essentially, we add a little sort of sharing icon under files. So you can see
Mhm.
here we've got the file sharing is on,
Cool.
right? So you get a sort of visual view. We don't have like a report on
Mhm.
everything that's shared across the organization, but I think
That
that's probably a
symbol is
great
awesome,
idea.
though. Yeah, a
But
symbol for now is great. I mean, you're light years ahead of most just with that. So you're already doing amazing. And how does data egress work? Now, obviously, um, if someone's coming onto the platform, they're looking to stay, but some businesses need to be able to egress their data in a certain way. Um, if you can you export? Because I know you can export. Projects or
so,
boards as a CSV, but how do you get
yeah,
images or
great question.
attachments, stuff like
So
that?
for to export all your data in terms of a project, you can export via the CSV, right? But obviously, and correctly, as you pointed out, that's not going to export files and other kind of data like that. The way you can do this, so every Blue account comes with an API, and it's
Mhm.
100% coverage. So every single thing that you can do by clicking on Blue, you can
Mhm.
do through the API, right?
Wow.
So we made a very conscious decision right at the beginning, like 7 years ago, to do that. So basically, the API that we expose to customers is the same API that we use to power Blue. So it's not like a
Wow.
baby version or a dumbed down version. So
Yeah.
essentially, you can loop through
Mhm.
to then download all your files, right? As well. And
That's really
on the
cool.
point of file storage, the other nice thing about Blue is that we offer unlimited file storage to accounts, and the maximum file size, individual file size that you can upload is 5 GB, right? Which is
Mhm.
a lot more than many other systems, right? Some systems limit you to only 100 megabytes, right? Asana as an
Yeah. Or
example, which
25
means
megabytes. And
yeah, so it's
yeah.
not great if you want to have zip files that have got backups for that particular project, or you've got any kind of media files that can easily become more than
Yeah.
100 megabytes, right? So yeah.
Mhm. And there's a related question here in the chat from Grant here, which would be a question that I would come up with too, is on the data governance side and data residency, there's so many privacy frameworks now across the world. Grant is in Australia. I'm in the US. There's like over 13 states now that have privacy frameworks. Regulated businesses, attorneys, and everybody have already had this. But um, can you speak to like server locations, data governance, stuff like that, just to kind of in a general sense, or at least
Yeah,
give some a place people can explore?
yeah, sure thing. So we've got a sort of security page on our site, which is at the bottom right of the footer. But
Awesome.
in general, so we kind of first of all we post up all our third party processes, right? So you can see
Hmm.
actually where we're hosting things. We also have a I'm gonna share here under our SOP, which is online. We also have our full technology stack. So every single
Hmm.
piece of technology that we use is outlined here.
Wow. Just so
So
everyone knows, this is huge. No one lists their dependencies like this. This
we list
transparency is
we
insane.
list it down to the library,
Holy.
right? So like
Oh,
literally every
what?
single
This
library, every
is
dependency.
crazy.
So you
Oh
can
my
really
gosh.
tell exactly how Blue
That's amazing.
is built, right?
Wow.
In terms of in terms of the overall data
So
hosting.
cool.
So the bulk of the data is hosted on the AWS. So that's both for your files, which is on
Hmm.
S3, which is one of the world's most popular sort of storage services. We use the Asia Pacific region at the moment in Singapore, and that's mostly because for historical reasons, because that's I was living in Asia when we first started.
Yeah.
And then we use the databases also on running on AWS. I think in the future, we definitely want to migrate to a sort of global, I think the database will be the first one, to be honest, a global setup where we have databases in Europe, databases in the US, and then customers will be automatically redirected to the closest database. However, the information will be shared across everything, right? So if you've got
Hmm.
a business that has employees in Asia and employees in the US, both of them will access local databases and then they will stay in sync, kind of in background automatically, right? But
Yeah.
I think for sure a key part of the future vision is to be able to say, hey, I'm in EU, I'm an EU company, I want to just restrict down all my data to only be stored in the EU, and then we'll basically move everything across
And
there
and
and
do
so
you
on.
offer that for enterprise clients? Because enterprise is going to be, totally different ball game. Is that something if an enterprise client came to you and said, "I would love some dedicated, data centers here or whatever," is that something you can service now for enterprise? Obviously,
No,
separate
so
from
we
current users.
no, so we I'm fairly strict on having one one set of infrastructure overall for everybody and the multi-tenancy model just because it scales very well.
Hmm.
I think we do have enterprise customers, but the reason they pay, and sometimes quite a lot more, right,
Oh
than for
yeah, it's a lot having. I mean, if
um,
someone's coming on with 100 users, that's a lot different. Yeah,
so
definitely.
for those essentially, we'll listen to them more for the roadmap for sure.
Hmm.
They can also, if they've got something that's really absolutely needed on the roadmap, sometimes they'll say, okay, if you can put an engineer for 2 months on this feature, we're happy to basically contribute to the
Yeah.
cost. We can sometimes bring that roadmap item forwards. And then finally, it's the support, right, that they really value. So it's the additional support, having Telegram groups or dedicated WhatsApp groups where we can do training and answer questions, and maybe regular training and so on. So that's kind of it. I don't think in the future we'll be trying to split out the software into plans specifically for enterprise and small businesses. Because it's my belief that a lot of the enterprise features that you see on the other platforms, small
Hmm.
businesses would love those, right? But they can't afford
Yeah.
them, right? So I kind
And
of
then
want to
we're
bring
like, what? What? Thanks.
exactly. So I want to bring that kind of enterprise power,
Yeah,
but down for small and medium businesses, right? Hence
I love
why
that.
all of our custom fields are available for everybody, right? Even ones that in many other platforms are restricted only if you're paying thousands a month, right?
Mm,
So that's a little bit on the on how transparent we are in terms of the our technology and so on.
that's
Um,
beautiful.
yeah, I think the other couple of salient things I want to show here is one is so under people you can add we've got these kind of 5 predefined user roles, but the this is really a killer feature in my opinion. It's the ability to create your own custom role. So, for instance, junior staff, right? And then you can say, okay, are they allowed to see the activity? Yes or no? Can they see the forms? Yes or no? Can they only see records that are assigned to them specifically? Are they allowed to invite others? And then at a custom field level, you can choose exactly which custom fields they can view or edit.
Mm.
So these are like column level permissions. And
This
even
is
down to
cool.
list view.
Most SaaS like yours charge extra. You have to be in like the top subscription tier
Exactly.
to get
And
this. And I see the natural language again. Thank you.
yeah, and you can also with a list the same thing. You can hide lists completely from users. You can say, okay, I want them to see the ideas and backlog, but not the feedback, right? And so you can kind of do that, and you can choose what they want to edit too.
So
So you
cool.
can create your own custom roles there, and it all kind of rolls up, right? So that's kind of it in a nutshell in terms of the specific of the projects. Then on the sidebar,
Can you show the
we have
form also, Mabel's
yeah, sure. The
asking for?
forms. That's actually
Just while we're up there.
a
Sorry.
great one. Yeah. So for forms, if you want to put a form on your website or as a QR code that people can scan and submit, this will
Hmm.
automatically create records in your project. And you can drag and drop pretty much any custom field as editable across, right? So you can drag those in. You can kind of rename them. You can set what's required, what's not. You can add a custom logo as well. There's a branding at the bottom, but you can also turn that off. And then you can also
Thank you.
decide, okay, which list should that go on? Should
Right.
anybody be automatically assigned to it? Any tags you want to create? And then you can also have a redirect URL to a thank you page, right? Which you can also then obviously trigger analytics if you want to know how many people from different campaigns and so on.
Yeah. I
Form. And
love how
then,
you put that on a sidebar because I know a company we won't mention here on this live stream has a builder like this, but it's all inline, so it's super confusing. And you're like, okay, is that hidden? Does the person see it? Like, this is great.
yeah, and then you can essentially, that will give you a form. You can submit
Hmm.
that, and then that will create
Clean.
yeah. And the lovely thing here too is that automations can be triggered on form entries. So you can use all the power of the automation builder also for when new forms are coming in, right? So you can use that automations to route work to the right person based on the tag, based on the list, and so on, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of on that. I mean, a few other things on the sidebar. So you've got a sort of inbox here. Anything that's assigned to you shows up here. You've got an activity as well for all the projects that you're part of in the company. So you can see a kind of cross-project activity. You've also got a cross-project calendar. So this is a calendar of all the items across all the projects. And again, you can also sync this one if you want. But typically, there's probably too many items here to actually want to sync, but you can if you want to. And then you can filter here, and we've also got a project filter, so you can just choose maybe a few projects and see a united calendar for that. The same
That's
thing with
cool.
the map, so you've got a unified map view if you want, so that will pull the record locations across all your projects and show them in the map. And then finally,
That's interesting.
dashboards. So this is really powerful. So
Hmm.
this gives you the ability to create cross-project real-time dashboards. So you can pull data from one or more projects, combine it into pie charts, bar charts, or what we call statistic cards. And then you've got this kind of live data. And we see customers like basically putting this on the TV in their office. So they've got live data. And then you can
That's
also
cool.
filter by list and by tags and so on. And
Can
what's
you
really clever,
export this as a PDF?
no, not yet. But what you can do, which is quite clever, is that if you have the same tags across projects,
Hmm.
or same lists, we will intelligently combine those. So then you just need to filter
Oh,
by that one
cool.
tag, and if you're
Yeah.
pulling data from multiple projects, it will also do that. So
That's so
it's
cool.
yeah, and it's pretty powerful. You can add like multiple values from projects and
Yeah.
really get into the weeds. And any of the filters that you have available in your project you can use when pulling data in, right? Which is a really important point because a lot of systems have dashboards, but then they don't have that full filtering capability. So you can't pluck exactly the data that you need, right? And you only
Yeah.
kind of realize that several weeks into the implementation sometimes, right? And then you're kind of stuck. So,
It's
so
awful.
yeah,
From experience, it's awful because it's like, oh, cool, there's reporting. It's like, oh, it's not really reporting. It's baby
exactly.
reporting. So
So yeah, so that's kind of that in a
that's so
nutshell. You've
cool.
got all your
So
kind of projects. You can create folders to combine projects kind of logically. You can search through, and of course, you can also archive projects. So these become kind of frozen in time. So you can't edit them, but they're still there in case you need to search through them and so on. So
that's
yeah, so
cool.
that's kind of a sort of quick tour
It's great.
of yeah.
I have one quick question for mobile.
Mhm.
I know you guys are working on an app. Will there be just a web app that you can use in browser? And then my second question for mobile, a lot of companies, and I'm thinking like thousands of companies, need some of these have a map view, but you can't click on it and have it go to Apple Maps or Google Maps. Is there a way that when you're on mobile, can you click on it so it opens up the address into your your phone's system
Yeah, great
navigation?
question. So we have native iOS, so iPhone app, iPad app, and also an Android app. We also the web app is also what's called the PWA, Progressive Web App, so that can also be
Ah,
installed.
thank you.
So you've got
Yeah.
both options.
You just keep
The
saying yes, we have that.
just to be candid, I'd say
Mhm.
the mobile view is not the mobile apps are not equivalent to the desktop app. You can't do absolutely
Yeah,
everything you can.
that's to be
They're
expected. Yeah.
designed to be on the road and check. So, for
Yeah.
instance, map view is not available, but obviously the custom fields are. So, if you
Mhm.
click on the map custom field, that can open the map on your phone, right? But you don't have a map view specifically on.
Just being able to click on it is cool because
Yeah.
I know like hundreds of businesses that would just like, okay, so we move it here in the workflow. We need our delivery person, we need our inspector, we need our so and so. This is where they're going. They could just click on it and start driving. So it's as long as there's that, I think that's going to be a huge USP for literally thousands of businesses.
Yeah.
That's very cool because everyone's thinking of mostly. You thought of literally every business. Most of these project management or process management apps think about people sitting on a computer, but there are thousands of businesses that have in person that would love something like this, and you actually
I mean,
cater
I
to
think
them. This is
the
cool.
real killer feature, which we're not, is not in the short term roadmap, but I know
Yeah.
from my experience, is the ability to have an app that can collect offline form entries because
Yes,
all the
service
things, right?
workers. We need that.
And then
Yeah, because
when you
I'm out
get
in the
back to the
country
office,
sometimes and I need it.
you can
Yeah.
then sync it up, and then once you get back to the office, and then so I think
Hmm.
eventually that would be something I would love to do for the tablet apps, is or the
That's
mobile
so
apps would
cool.
be to save forms locally and then sync them up later. Because I know for many businesses and even NGOs that go out in the field to do
Yeah,
reports and stuff, that would be really really important.
that'd be amazing. And
Manny,
obviously,
we've been
that's a huge ask. Just so people know, it's no one has it because it's really it's a lot of work. So just so you guys know, I'm asking for the moon, and he's delivered the sun already. But it's I'm asking for things that no one else has, and he's like, yeah, we've already been thinking about it. So I'm pretty excited about this. This is amazing. I'd never heard of Blue until this, so
You're
I am
glad I
pleasantly
invited you,
surprised.
Sarah.
Yeah, because I was like,
See?
another project management
Another
app.
project
Yeah,
management tool.
yeah. But it's
Ma-
not. It's wow. It's good.
Manny, you've been on Sarah also for over an hour now. You still have a little time to answer questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I guess
Awesome.
we can go through that quick. So rethink is the deal live? Not yet, right? What is it? The 14th and then the 17th.
Yeah, that's right. Uh,
How many employees does Blue
so we're a
have?
small team. We have 7 full-time people, and that's basically everybody is an engineer, and then one person on support, right, or customer success, as we like to call it, right. So it's basically doing onboarding calls and then answering the kind of email questions, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
How do you compare with Nifty or Nimbus?
Nimbus, I'm not that familiar with. For Nifty, I would say Nifty has got a lot going on in the interface. So I'd say it's kind of a little bit easier to use, and I think some of the those kind of unique features that I showed, we have that they don't have, right? Kind of maybe custom permissions, that kind of stuff. But I think they've also got I think they've got mind maps and that kind of stuff. I haven't used that specific one for a while. I will take the time to highlight something that I have on the website. So let me share my screen. It doesn't have Nifty or Nimbus specifically, but if you go to resources and compare platforms on our website, you can compare any plan from any of these major project management platforms against each other. It doesn't even have to be Blue.
Amazing.
So you can say, okay, I want the standard plan of Blue, I want the pro plan of Basecamp, and I want the enterprise of Asana and the unlimited plan of ClickUp. And you'll get a breakdown of all the price and every single feature, who's got what, right? And any limitations, right?
That's so
So
cool.
this is
So I don't
really
have
good
to
if
go
you
to G2 or another third party place. I can just go to you and you actually show us. That's so cool.
exactly. So we've done research. We've signed up for all of these and actually done that. So
Hmm.
yeah, so that's also a way if you're doing research on a project management system and you want to compare plans, you can do, because I think typically the features that you see on a lot of these plans, they're really only at the more expensive ones, right? So then
Yep,
it's
absolutely.
worth actually checking out what are the, if you're looking at, say, free, you might then
Hmm.
start to notice actually there's quite a lot of red X's here because they're all gated, right? A lot of the features. So yeah, so that's on the resources and compare platforms. You've got that right there.
Nice.
Grant says, "Holy crap, this is next level." Agreed. Yeah, amazing.
What
Well, I
else?
think we're all thoroughly impressed. This is amazing. Just Blue keep different versions.
So great questions. I guess this is talking about, I'm not sure if it's talking about the records or the documentation, but I'll answer for both. So for the records, so basically the platform is real time. So if you change a field, anything, and somebody else is looking at it, it will update in real time. And for the documents, if you make an edit, I can literally see you typing the change, right? And I will see a
Oh,
little bit like
cool.
Google Docs, right? I'll see the little person and I can see the change happening, right? Or if you've highlighted something, essentially it's real time collaboration. For the documents, we don't yet store all the past edits, but that's definitely something that's going to be on our roadmap for that because that's been requested many times. So the ability to then roll back and be able to see a sort of kind of GitHub style difference between, okay, what was my version in January, my version now, and being able to see the red and green. Red things have been removed, green the things that have been added. So
Hmm.
yeah, for sure.
What are the main integration features does Blue have?
Yeah, great question. In terms of native integrations out of the box, we've got the kind of a calendar integration, so you can actually pull that in and put it into your calendar. Then we've got the API and the webhooks. So that enables, if you're a bit technical, you can make your own custom integrations. And I know some customers integrate to their own systems. And then we have connections with Pabbly and Zapier. So that allows you to basically connect to 5,000 other tools, right? Both sending data in and sending data out, right? Then next question, is this supporting webhook based
Yeah.
task or project creation? So yeah, you can, again, everything that you can do with the API, you can do through the interface, you can do through the API. We don't receive webhook changes. We've got a webhook that's out, so we can basically send out
They have a post
to your
webhook.
to your
Yeah.
endpoints. And this is also I'll highlight this because I'm a pretty technical guy, right? And I was so fed up with the webhooks that basically either trigger when everything happens or they send you all the data that you don't need. So the way
Yeah,
we
it's not fun.
which is it doesn't seem a big issue until you try and actually do an integration, right?
Oh, and then you have custom fields, and then you're just ready to cry. You're like,
So
cool.
our,
That's
our webhook, so I can create one here. You can choose exactly which event type you want. And this is
very nice.
really granular, right? But what's
Wow.
great is that you can choose multiple events types for one
Hmm.
web, right? So you can choose exactly what should happen, right? And
Oh,
then
so I don't have to filter through this giant JSON return. Like, this
and then
is amazing.
exactly. And also
Wow.
you can choose which projects to turn this on for. And if you've
Hmm.
got multiple companies in Blue, you can do that across companies. So you can set
Wow.
a webhook that goes across companies. So that's yeah. So that's
Just so
makes it much
everyone knows, no one has this. I've
yeah
literally never seen it
yeah
ever. This is amazing.
yeah.
Wow.
So
That's cool.
If two teams are working on the same document and on the same line, how does Blue keep track which one to save?
exactly
Can we see the live cursor of the other collaborators?
yes, precisely. So as you're typing, you will see that the other person will see what you're typing as you're typing it, and vice versa, right? So
Hmm.
essentially within milliseconds, right? Um,
Do you plan to connect with Click-Minded, Asana, ClickUp?
so we've got plans in the future to allow one-click imports from Asana, ClickUp, that kind of stuff, right?
Hmm.
During the onboarding, as you know, we know some customers are already on those systems and are looking for a simpler, more affordable alternative. So yeah, that's something that we definitely want to do. So yeah, basically you'll be able to import your full project from those platforms.
Can we restrict the view settings for specific persons? Is user access management controlled by the different roles of the persona?
Yeah. So the way the user access works. So first of all, every project is completely private by default. So you have to add somebody specifically to the project for them to see it. right? So you don't get
That's
this
nice.
confusion where you add somebody to a team and then suddenly they're seeing all the projects underneath, some of them which were supposed to be private and so on.
That's a huge issue across so many.
I
Yeah.
think, yeah, look, and I get it. In theory, that sounds great, and I think for very very sophisticated companies, they've got all that locked down. But I think a lot of companies, they don't realize that there's this cascading permissions going down, and then people have got access to things that they shouldn't have. So we made a
Yeah.
decision that it's either somebody's in a project or they're not, right? So it's very very clear who's seeing what. Then in terms
So
of
cool.
assigning user roles to somebody. So essentially, the way we do it, the custom permissions, it's a new user role, and then you drop people into that user role for that
Okay.
project, right? So, and if you want to assign different versions to different people, you can create different custom user roles or use some of our kind of predefined ones, right?
This is so nice because normally my experience across like so many project management apps is like you have, maybe guests or people that you're onboarding and people are getting like random emails for other books and I'm like, I didn't want you to see that. You're not supposed to be able to see that. So this is really nice.
And the other nice thing to mention is that with Blue, I mean, obviously, if people grab the lifetime deal, that's great.
Mm.
But even if on subscription basis, the paid users, are the ones that count against the lifetime deal, are only the administrators, the team members, and the custom user roles. The comment only, view only, and client roles, they're
Hmm.
unlimited for everybody, right? So we don't
Oh, that's
charge,
nice.
right?
Yeah.
Because I know that from experiences as an agency, I know that okay, you might have 30 core team members, but you could
Yeah.
easily have 150 client users, right? I don't want to
Oh,
pay for
yeah.
it. It becomes economically, it becomes crazy, right? And in our documentation, if people are interested, and that's documentation.blue.cc, we give you a table of exactly what the standard user roles can and can't do, right? So it's very,
Mm.
very clear, right? So you can see exactly, how that works.
Mind maps, charts, etc.
Mind maps known is not something that we have on our short-term roadmap. For charts, yeah, we showed the dashboards earlier, so you can basically do charting both at an individual project or even cross-project data as well.
Can we create template for new opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can create any kind of project template. So it could be like a sales CRM, and then you can spin that up whenever you have a new project. Or it could be, for instance, like an onboarding project for one client, right? Where you've got a default checklist and things like that. You can create that and then invite the client in
We can
to that.
restrict access. Yeah.
Yeah. So as mentioned, every project is completely locked down until you add people into it, right? So there's no accidental
Awesome.
sharing, right?
Thank you.
And we embed documents from a Google Drive, OneDrive.
So not yet, but I've heard this many times before, and I think our document tab. Well, right now we list the documents there as just our documents. I think will
Mhm.
allow you to basically copy and paste a link to a Google document or a Word document online, and then that will still show up on the list as normal. Then you click on it, and you'll see the embed there. We don't have that
That
yet,
would
but
be
that's
awesome. Just like if you could just make like a little iframe thing where we can just throw stuff in there, it'd be super cool.
Hero, CSS, HTML,
so
JavaScript.
no. There's no you can't customize the web app in any way. So you can't embed kind of JavaScript or anything like that to change the functionality.
Mm.
I think long-term vision. I mean, I'm not, don't hold me on this, but I think I wouldn't be surprised in the next few years at some point we open source the code base. Right? I'm not
Mhm.
Yeah.
100% on
It's
it
up
yet,
in the
but
air
that's
still.
it's something. Yeah, but it's something that I've been thinking about.
What type of docs can we insert in Blue?
In terms
If
of
you did that,
uploading,
we would use it in a heartbeat.
yeah.
Yeah.
In
I
terms
mean,
of
I'm going to use it for myself, but I mean with clients. Yeah.
So, what are the types of docs that we can insert in Blue? So, I mean, in terms of uploading files, we don't really restrict the type of document. As long as it's less than 5 GB for that individual file. If you've got things like PDFs and images, you can also right-click and preview them directly in Blue without downloading. Also, videos too. Other kind of documents, and you have to download to actually open them, right? So, yeah.
Are alternative file types supported, like custom ones for custom applications, or VCF or
Yeah,
.txt?
we
What's
don't.
kind of
Yeah,
the
we don't. Yeah, we don't. We don't really limit any kind of file
That's
type.
cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing. See, you just keep saying, yeah, we have that. Yes, we
Yeah,
can
we
do that.
have it. We
Yes,
have it.
of
We have
course.
it.
We will
Uh,
have it. Amazing.
so, question from Francois. So, okay, a new field called reference. Can you explain what this is for? Yeah, so this is really powerful. I guess probably a few people here on the chat, and maybe both of you have used Airtable before, right? At some point in your lives, right? I think everybody
Mhm.
has. And the cool thing about Airtable is that you can reference data from one base, I think they call it base, into another, right? So you can basically interlock your spreadsheets, right? And create. And essentially, this reference field is exactly that. So I can say,
Mm.
okay, I create a reference field, and I can essentially say, this reference field is going to be a drop down that references all the records in another project, right? So you get a drop down of records stored elsewhere. And then you can combine that with a lookup field where
Mhm.
then you can pull data from the record that was referenced. So imagine I have a customer project and a sales project, right? So my customer database and then my opportunities. I could select a customer in the record of my opportunities, say, okay, it's customer A, but then in my opportunity record, I can automatically pull their email, their phone number, the account manager, and so on. So I have everything I need under the opportunity, right? I don't have to retype it in, and then if the data changes, I have to go back and search for all the different data points and update them. It will
Right.
update.
So you're making database powers accessible without knowing MySQL or being some kind of
Exactly,
programmer. That's cool.
exactly.
Automation processes, how customizable are flows, email reminders, creation of docs, and invoice reminders. Blue have all that?
So yeah, essentially, I mean the automations are pretty flexible. I mean, it's really
Mhm.
limits kind of your imagination, right? We've got the triggers are pretty much anything that you can do on the project, and the actions also, right? The two things that I want to improve the automations in the future. One is have what we call conditional based triggers, right? So I can say if this and or this is true, then trigger, right? So that gives it a bit more specificity, right? And the other thing I want to do is allow an automation to trigger another automation, right? But the what we're working on is to make sure that we don't get into a loop type situation where suddenly
Yeah.
we create millions of records. That could be something. So we need to find a way to detect that, right? And somehow.
Yeah.
And then
That's
finally,
cool.
the other thing will be automation triggers that are not to do with Blue itself, but to do with other apps, right? So
Mm.
that can trigger a webhook, that can trigger an API call to another app, or a Zapier integration, and so on, right? So those are kind of three key areas that I see in the future of automations. But in terms of all those kind of examples shown, yeah, you can definitely do that.
Very cool.
Many of the traffic are moving in ClickUp. What features are in your pipeline? Although Blue is quite solid. Yeah, basically what is in your roadmap? Kind of same question
Yeah,
there.
sure thing. So a lot of a lot of companies don't share their roadmap publicly.
Yeah.
We do. So I'll just bring it up and I'll show. So under platform, you can see roadmap, and essentially you can see everything here. So just to talk you through, so public views, you can share any view as a link that people outside of Blue can access. You can add preset filters and so on, so you can see who's been viewing your project. AI email automations, so being able to have AI write the email automations for you, and also an AI project assistant. Essentially, a little widget, something like this, where you can chat to your project, right? And it knows all the context
And
of
how
your
does
project.
your AI work? Like with as far as I'm hearing from you so far, you're very responsible with how you've built this and data governance. And I mean, I can tell that you care. All of the features that you've built in just for permissions for us just tells me that you care on the back end about our data privacy. With AI, how is it siloed? Like what is it based on, if you can tell us, and how is it siloed within the application itself? Because some people can't use AI in their businesses without a HIPAA
So,
thing or something
yeah,
like that. So
great question. So we've got two. AI features right now, right? So one is the AI auto tagging, which I mentioned, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the other is just simply the ability to kind of summarize a discussion in a record, right? So if you've got 20 comments, you can create an action summary, right? We will allow these to be turned off in the future. We don't have that now, but I do realize that some companies just don't want AI features there.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of the specifics of the actual AI feature implementation, we we strip out data that's kind of personal. So, for instance, in the AI tagging, we don't include assignee data, right? Because that would include people's
Mm.
real names, right?
Yeah.
So we automatically hide that, and then we send that across. We use OpenAI for this.
Mm-hmm.
The way that it's set up, the agreement with them, is that the data is not stored after it's been processed with them, right? So we
Mm.
temporarily share the data, we get a response back, and then they delete the data on their side, right? So there's nothing that's kept with third parties, right? We have an
Mm.
engineering blog here.
I'll be on that in a heartbeat. That's so cool.
For instance, we did a big, huge write up on our AI auto categorization, like an engineering deep dive, and this
Mm-hmm.
shows all the sort of the kind of challenges and how we thought about the data and all the prompts and so on. So we actually
Mm-hmm.
list out what we use and so on. So that kind of gives you a very good idea. And again, this is our sort of commitment to being transparent, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I've
For that.
never seen this level of transparency ever. Ever. This is
So
really
yeah, and just to go back to on the roadmap. So yeah, public views. We've got the idea of having multiple tools for projects, customizable cards. So you can decide what you want to show on front of your card. So bring custom fields up to that as well. More login methods. Right now we just have Magic Link, but we'll bring
Mhm.
in sort of SSO, Google, email and password, and also an assignee custom field. So a new custom field that you can get a drop down of users, and you'll be able to also decide to only that drop down list will only be for specific user roles, for instance. Yeah, and there's and then a couple of sort of back end improvements and so on. So yeah, that's kind of our sort of roadmap for now. The other thing that's
Yeah.
not there, but is basically the white label. And that's probably the big thing for us until the end of the year. So
White
basically
label.
allowing you to upload your own logo, so that
Mm-hmm.
it's blue everywhere, and to turn on white label, which means a few things. You got your custom domain, you've got your logo and the branding, so blue is completely removed, and then the emails that we send out can come from your email address instead of ours, and
Mm-hmm.
also that all your users are excluded from our onboarding emails. That you can create your own, so
Ah,
we'll give you
thank
an area,
you.
and also that they're excluded from our newsletter, right? So
Mm.
literally, these people will never get any.
Actual white label, not just branding.
Exactly.
Cool.
And then, yeah, are the emails sent from the Blue email
Yeah.
service provider or our own email? So, no, the way we're going to implement that will allow you to basically add SMPT details, and then we'll
Mhm.
basically use that. The reason for that is that, and we've seen this before, by the way, with the email sending features we have, we don't want to be responsible for people sending thousands of emails as spam, right? So we prefer to do that because otherwise there's a lot more sort of checking that we need to do on systems and abuse. Well, if you're using your own email address, your own email servers on systems, then it's
That's
not
up to
really
you.
on us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the plus advantage for Blue? I think Plus gets it earlier, at least.
Gets
Is
it
there
earlier.
Pricing the
any
same,
difference or
same
anything?
pricing,
They get a 10% discount, I
10%.
believe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
Okay. So
typically.
that's really it. Mabel, does the calendar sync with Google Calendar or using CalSync?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So you get a link for the calendar. You can drop it into Google Calendar, and then all the events will pull that. And you've got three choices there: project
Mhm.
calendars. You've got the company calendar. That's everything that's got a due date in all the projects you're in,
Mhm.
or also your personal calendar, which is all the items that are assigned to you across all your projects. You can pull that into your calendar.
The deal will stay on for AppSumo.
Uh, Good question. I mean, we sort of we don't have a like specific end date. I mean, we'll see
Yeah.
how it goes. I mean, I think there's definitely a top end of licenses in my mind that I want to
Yeah.
do, and then after that we probably would close it, right? So it really depends.
We transfer data from here to a platform like System.io.
So
Robin
yeah,
covered that.
so if I don't know if System.io is on Zapier or Pabbly, but if there is, you can definitely do that. I'm not sure on round robin
Yeah.
No
Canada.
one has that. That's why we
Yeah.
all want it. It would be, I mean, it is, if you can just build that even as a standalone app, we would all buy it, because just like with everything being so global now, when I'm meeting with people, we've got someone in London, I'm in the States, and then we've got someone, in Singapore, and then we're all like, okay, what's your time zone? We're hopping on a third-party website, emailing each other. If you could build some kind of feature like that, even though it has kind of nothing to do with your app, that would be a huge USP. You would help us so much. So I'm asking for something that has nothing to do with it, but if you added
Um,
that.
then yeah, is that under GDPR? So yeah, so as I've shown, so even on our terms, we list all our sub processors. There's a data privacy officer as well, and you've got the right to be, to when we do it. If you ask us to delete your company, this is a hard delete, right? It's not like we flag things in the database as inactive, right? It's actually fully removed as well.
Sidebar map means mind map.
No, that
No.
means an actual kind of
Yeah,
globe
sidebar.
map. So yeah, is the UI the same for the customer, or the front customer portal looks different? No, so when you invite customers, the UI looks pretty much the same. Obviously, there's a few things removed if you're, not a project administrator or something like that, right? Like, for instance, you're not going to have the project settings. When you go to people, customers can only invite customers or the permissions below, so they won't see the other user groups, that kind of stuff. But in general, yes, it looks very similar.
We embed movies from Google Photos, YouTube, Playbook.
Yeah, but I'm not sure about Playbook specifically. But yeah, for sure. Like, for instance, if you drop a YouTube link in a comment and press a new line, we will actually embed the YouTube video, right? And I think that works for most popular sites, Vimeo, that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Francois, it's possible to have custom domain.
Great question. Great question. So right now, we already have custom domains live, so you can actually request us to enable a custom domain on your account, but that doesn't apply to forms. However, the future white label will. So forms will also work with the white label, so you can have your own.
But we can at least embed for now, right? Like
Yeah,
it's,
exactly. For now, you
yeah,
can embed
first
it onto the site. If you
yeah.
remove the branding option on the form, then nobody knows about Blue.
Can this be used to sell services?
I mean, it depends what you mean
That's a
by selling.
very wide open
Yeah,
question.
well, very well question. I mean, there's no
I know.
payment, there's no payment system or anything like that. But if you're a consultant and you're running
Yeah.
projects, then I think it's ideal, right? Because you can basically create
And
a client.
I could see with the API how you could automate access, perhaps. So if you had one project that was, say, a database or some kind of library of something, technically, maybe that might work, but that's going to have to be on you to set that up. I could see my brain's like, Rouhani, I'm going to ask you now because I'm curious. That sounds interesting.
I think Manny has a good UX UI designer. So actually,
Mm-hmm.
this is interesting. We have no designers.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Maybe
Yeah.
that's why it's better. Us
So,
designers think too
Maybe.
much. We would
Yeah.
still
so
be developing the design for you 10 years later.
so the no, so the reason for that is I didn't want to have this team separation where we have, okay, Joe, you're responsible for front end development. Sarah, you're responsible at the database level, and so on, and get this fragmentation across. So when somebody works on a feature on us in Blue, they're
Mhm.
working on the full end-to-end feature, right? So that's
They
not
have the
just
actual insight then to
so
understand
it's
if I
also
do this.
understanding why we requested
Yeah.
this, what's the customer use case, right? What's the experience
Mhm.
going to be like? What's the development? What's the security? And all those aspects, right? All in one, right? Okay, my developers are not super UX UI designers, right? But we have a pretty good style guide, and we've been working. Most of us have been working together. Some of us 6 years, right? we've got a very, very shared common understanding of the vision of the platform and how we want things to work, right? So that enables us to go and create very simple things on Figma and then move right to development, right? We don't necessarily need high fidelity for that. Mabel asks, are we able to customize theme based on brand kit? So yeah, colors and fonts. So actually the font right now is in testing. So we do have an ability in company settings to choose between different Google fonts. I'm not allowing all Google fonts because some of them are really wacky. It's like a selection
Yeah.
of Google fonts.
You don't want
Some
you're
of them are
saving people from
crazy.
themselves. Yeah.
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 Save them from themselves.
And the colors right now, it's just a few selection, which I showed
Yeah.
earlier, like 5 or 6 colors. But with the white label, we will allow you can choose your exact hex code of your business, right? So you can
Perfect.
dial that down. And the
Mhm.
fonts, yeah, we'll keep those at like 20, 25 fonts from Google.
That's a lot still. That's awesome.
Yeah, Rabin, I'm monitoring. I think we answered a couple of questions from YouTube. Yep, Sarah, transparency is something I've never seen before.
Never.
Francois, is the white label feature part of the
Great
LTD
question.
deal?
So, Francois, for you, yes.
Yeah.
But
He's
in
like the first user.
yeah,
You
he's
know?
one of the OGs. Yeah, but in general, it's going to be even for subscribers, people who are paying monthly. It's going to be a split out module for that. So it won't be included in the LTDs, but I'll definitely probably make exceptions for very early kind of signups that have been supporting us for
How do we
years.
add it on as an
So
LTD buyer? Because I already know I'm going to buy it. Like if I get the LTD, I'm going to pay more for
So
white
yeah,
label.
so
I'm fine with
once
that.
that's live under company settings, there'll basically be an area that you can unlock by paying, right? Unless your
Mhm.
account has it included, and then you'll be able to change all the settings.
Perfect.
Settings there.
As long as I could just, there's a space where I just go in there, put in my credit card, and I get the white label. I'm not even mad about the white label. Like some people are like, it should be included, but it's,
And I
I
mean,
understand. Yeah.
the reason for that, honestly, is that for a lot of the things, it's you know, every new customer that comes in general, we don't really see a variance on our overall costs, right? That's why
Yeah.
LTD can kind of make economic sense. But for this feature particularly, enabling white label, we've got vendors downstream that provide us services for that, and it costs
Mhm.
us something like $6-7 a year per company, right? And if you've got a multi-company setup, we would pay for $6-7 per company per user. So in that case, there's when you times that by thousands of companies potentially, it actually starts to be quite a cost, right?
Yeah,
Hence why we
absolutely.
would charge for that.
Yeah, totally support that and understand it too. It's I'm gonna pay for it. I'm so excited. I'm gonna definitely check out Blue ASAP.
Rabin,
So
yeah, he on the follow-up question, it was consultancy services along with a few other productized services. Okay.
looks like a yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what your specific use case is, but I'm yeah. It looks like you could probably even create your own template of what that would look like for so as you're selling each client, then you can maybe duplicate a project and then get them in it or something. There's lots
And
of
look, I
ways.
mean, I talk from my agency experience, right? I sold millions of dollars of consultancy services in my life, right? I think if in a client meeting, either in person or on Zoom, if you open your project management system and show them real life projects, this is how you're doing it, this is how organized you are. Honestly, that just spikes your win rate on your proposals, right? Because you're just showing them how you work, right? You don't have to sell, right? You're just explaining, look, this we're using Blue. And by the way, if you've got the white label in the future, you can say, hey, we've got our own system, right? Who are they to know, right? You can show them, say, look, this is how we're working with other customers. We've got all our process stuff, everything's tracked. They have a dashboard for reporting, and this is the experience you'll get with us. That will really help you close more deals. Right?
That's
So
awesome.
you have is it 5 tier ones gonna do a giveaway
Yeah,
of
that's
Blue?
right. So,
Yeah, usually we do after. You want to give away a couple now on the live to whoever who's here, or I could ask a
I've got to
question.
head out, but
You
yeah,
gotta
so
go. You
I
gotta
gotta
get
leave you
stuff.
guys here in just a few minutes.
Okay. Yeah. Do you, Manny? You want me to ask a question to give away whoever
yeah,
responds?
sure thing. I mean, how does that work typically? So
I'll just, I guess whoever responds for 1 or 2 questions, we'll give 1 code for that, and then we can give the rest away later. You can pick from the questions. That works for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure
Okay,
thing.
so first question is, what was blue called previously? That's 1. For whoever's on, we'll reward them with that. And the second question is, where is Manny from? 2 countries. So you could pick either one, either one, and then we'll see. Okay, Francois, the first user, got the answer right. I guess we can give him another. It is blue.
Awesome.
That's 1.
All right, Francois, you got it.
And if you can take a guess, no, Francois, not Serbia.
I'm curious too, because I don't know the answer to that. I'm thinking,
Yeah,
like, okay, his accent. Do I know that one?
Right. So, oh yeah, Grant missed the. It's not. Well, one of them's not Croatia. That's where my family's
Is it
from.
a Scandinavian country?
No, it's not.
No, they have good food. Well, one
Yeah,
of them. One of them does. I don't know the other.
One of
There's
them,
a
one of
lot
them
of
has terrible
countries.
food. The other has good food.
That doesn't narrow it down. There's so many with good food.
Mi chiamo Giuseppe.
Yeah,
Come ti
that's
chiami?
close, honey. Close, but no cigar.
It's a place on a.
Yes, he is from Earth.
It's from
because
Earth.
He's kind of got it right. Grant kind of has it right.
Oh man.
Oh well.
Does Grant win?
Yeah.
Because he didn't get it wrong, but
he didn't get it wrong. In 2 countries though, you have to just guess the country. Either one is one or the other. We'll just give it another minute, and then, yeah, Manny, thank you so much for doing the session.
It's been a pleasure.
This is wonderful. Thank you so
Sarah,
much.
And so it's coming back to AppSumo tomorrow for Plus members only. Then it'll be on for us non-Plus regular folks, us peasants. And you can contact help@blue.cc, correct? That's your email?
That's right.
And blue.cc is the website. So that's great. And
they have great docs and roadmap. So check those out.
Okay, that's 1.
There you go. All right.
Yay!
So Rabin,
got 1.
I'm glad he got it because Rabin's a great guy. He's, one of our guys in LoudEgg also. And he will definitely use the tool and help promote it if he likes it. You better like it, Rabin. It's good. I really like it. All right. So thank you again. The comments, you could keep asking questions, comments. The thread will be live, YouTube, Facebook. Sarah Parker, you have a new tool, right? Out that you have the video. If you want to mention it real fast.
Absolutely. Sure. So those of you that know my software selection process, I'm very particular and I go very in depth. So as you know, if I'm excited about Blue, you know that I've already researched it and there's a lot of things I like about it, and it's from a research place. But a lot of you want to learn my process, but you don't have the time. I created a tool that is a spreadsheet, an app, and a printable worksheet in one that you can purchase that has my entire 5-step process and full education built in to be able to select software. So It goes through data governance. It helps you avoid FOMO. It goes through avoiding logical fallacies and cognitive bias in your decision making. So it goes really deep. And I'll post that later. But yes, you can use that with Blue. Blue is going to pass with flying colors in my tool. I can tell you that already.
Awesome. All right. So thank you. Thanks everybody for joining. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Manny. Thanks for making an awesome
wonderful
tool. In Blue.
Thank you.
And see you all next time.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.